Okay, guys, welcome back to a new video here. So today we're going to be talking about a recent Piers Morgan episode between Dave Smith and Brandon Tatum. So basically, this guy, Brandon Tatum, he works for Turning Point USA, I think, and this guy is like the #1 Israel supporter I've ever seen. But honestly, a lot of the arguments are just like, it's like he's not even trying with the propaganda. He doesn't even know what he's talking about, it seems, in many cases. And Dave Smith just has enough of it. It really is pretty wild stuff. It gets personal. Dave Smith literally said this is the dumbest person on this topic I've ever just like it's just too much. I can't even deal with it. So we're going to show you some of the clips here where some of the talking points that Tatum gives are just like, I mean, it's beyond belief how insane it is. So we're going to show you the first clip. Here it is, where he basically argues, I'm not kidding, guys. He argues the main problem with Israel is that they were too soft in Gaza, and that his criticism of Bibi is, oh yeah, he's basically being not strong enough. That's his big problem. Okay, so we'll show you that first clip, and we'll talk about it in just a minute. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps with the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below. Thanks for watching. Here's the first clip, and we'll talk about it in just a second.
Irreversible reputational damage. He should have ended it sooner, and he should have went harder. In America, if we had faced such brutality, rape, people getting their heads cut off. I saw videos of people getting their heads cut off. We would have been swift. Within 48 hours. We would have caused the most damage that you've ever seen to a country in world history. And Netanyahu, for whatever reason, is capitulating, in my personal opinion, to his own personal image, and that he don't want to look bad. He don't want to be shamed. He don't want people to say that he's committing a genocide. So he's playing in the middle for too long. 2 years of this war is too much. He should have eliminated Hamas immediately, and he should not worry about the naysayers. He's darned if he do, he's darned if he don't. He is not committing a genocide in Gaza. I think that's disingenuous at best, because no one committing a genocide will be giving food or aid to a people that they're trying to kill. They would not be sending leaflets and advising people of buildings that they're going to tear down. The population has grown in Gaza from 1948 all the way up until today. 500,000 they started with. They're at 2 million at this point. When did the genocide start? There is no genocide. People can argue the tactics that Netanyahu is displaying in Gaza, but you cannot be superfluous and add these arguments that seems to, in my opinion, be anti-Semitic in many ways. It's not. These people are terrorists, and not the Gazan people, the regular everyday individual, the terrorist group that came into a country and attempted to commit a genocide against Israel. They would have committed a genocide against Israel to a large proportion if it wasn't for the IDF and if it wasn't for the Iron Dome. Let's not forget they shot 4,000 missiles into Israel. They tried to kill everybody. The IDF is going in strategically. I wish that people had not died. I wish that they could end the war so there's no suffering. I wish that Hamas wasn't stealing food. The UN confirmed that 96% of all the aid is being looted. I wish that Hamas wasn't doing those things. I wish that Hamas would take the approach of Israel, which means when the rockets go flying into Israel, the people go into bomb shelters. When rockets go flying into Gaza, the terrorists go into bomb shelters, and they make their people stay above ground to be the blunt force of what they receive in a war that they started for no reason. Hamas knew they could never beat the IDF in Israel. Why did they start the war? Why did they initiate conflict? Why did they rape people and do things like that and videotape it? Why do they still have hostages?
You know the unpalatable answer, Officer Tatum, I'll come to Dave Smith as well, but the unpalatable answer to that, maybe they did it precisely to goad Israel into a massive overreaction, which would then make Israel and its government in particular hugely unpopular around the world, to the extent that the United Nations is convening today with the UK declaring a state of Palestine. They're going to be followed by other countries. Only really America and Israel's opposing this. But it may well be that Hamas, being a bunch of evil terrorists, thought if we do this, Israel will massively overreact. They don't care about their own people dying. That's completely obvious. And it could well play into our longer-term game plan. Who knows? But it could be that. In which case, they've fallen for a hideous sucker punch. Dave Smith, your response to, lots to unpack there, but your response. And also taking in this news today about countries like the UK, declaring there is a state of Palestine.
Sure. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think Brent kind of almost hit every single talking point there. So I don't know. I mean, I've been knocking all these down for years on your show here. The bottom line is just that it is just, look, to sit here and say that, even as you say, obviously, Piers, it's not like Hamas had to be rocket scientists to figure this out. This is what terrorism is. It's asymmetrical warfare. The action is in the reaction. Osama bin Laden didn't think he could take down the United States of America by taking out our towers. He thought he could lure us into a war in Afghanistan and that might bankrupt us. It was the plan that our CIA coached him through in the late 70s and early 80s with luring the Soviets into Afghanistan. And so the idea that, and look, we did it. We blew $8 trillion in the Middle East since then. And so that's the idea here. And Israel's completely fallen into the trap. But of course, the reason why that Israel has done irreversible reputational damage, the reason why people are abandoning supporting this is really just twofold. Number one, it's clearly not in America's interest. And number two, this is just indefensible. Even if you say that, hey, look, Hamas goes down into the bomb shelters and leaves the civilians up there to be bombed. Okay, but then ain't there a moral question about whether it's the right thing to do to just drop those bombs on the civilians when you know the terrorists are down in the towers? Hold on, you had a chance to go through all this stuff. So
I know, but I want you to, can I just
you just went off on every talking point.
And I'll shut up. No, just explain that
okay,
too.
But I'm just going to finish.
Argument.
I'm just going to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to finish.
Okay, so that was just completely insane. So the idea that Netanyahu was too soft in the Gaza Strip, that his actions and the Israeli government's actions have been too soft, that's a new one that I really had not heard before. But that's what the officer Brandon Tatum is arguing here. And you can see Dave Smith, he's like, what am I even debating here? This is so absurd. They should have went harder from the beginning. And he said, we should have done it in 48 hours and the war would have been over and just dealt with the consequences. Well, first of all, we have reports now that around 80% of all the buildings in the Gaza Strip are completely destroyed, or at least partially destroyed. So it's, again, I don't know. My interpretation of that is he calling for like dropping an atomic bomb on the Gaza Strip? Like that is my, like, what exactly is he like referring to here? Go harder in the beginning. I don't know what he's talking about. And again, he drops all the talking points. Oh, Israel's trying to get food into the Gaza Strip. They're trying to get all this food in, all this supplies. But it's Hamas that's looting everything. 96% of the loot is looted by Hamas. Okay, that is not true at all. The UN report he cites does not even say that. And he even says, of course, he goes to the old reliable. He says, yeah, a lot of these people criticizing the war in the Gaza Strip, they're basically anti-Semitic. First of all, he's arguing with Dave Smith, who is a Jewish person arguing against it, which is, again, just completely insane that that's where he goes to. And again, it's literally every talking point in the book. And it only gets even worse, where he basically says, oh, Israel is not indiscriminately bombing, actually. Israel's offered peace to the Palestinians a dozen times or whatever, and they've always declined, which is, again, not true at all. He uses a talking point, oh, they actually got a state in 2005, which of course isn't true. It's just totally insane propaganda. Here's a clip, and we'll talk about it in just a minute. Here's the second
that Dave Smith said. It sounds cute to act as if they're just indiscriminately bombing people. They're doing strategic strikes. They have to get approval to do strikes. We know that they're doing it. People don't like it. It's ugly. I get it. I hate that it's happening. I would have ended the war in 48 hours, and it would have been a mass casualty situation. However, we would have been done quicker, and it would have been 2 years. The two-state solution idea. They don't. Why are we lying to ourselves? They don't want a two-state solution. They want Israel to be absolved. They do not want a Jewish state. They made it clear, I don't know for how many years. Netanyahu, they removed Jews from Gaza and gave it to them. And what did they do in return? They elected a terrorist organization that extracted funding and resources from them to build tunnels to create terrorism against Israel. They cannot live in peace with these people. They continue to fight against Israel in a Jewish state. And I don't understand why we're acting as if that's not so. They've given them their own sovereignty to a certain degree. Imagine if they had their own state.
Officer Tatum, do you think, Officer Tatum, that Palestinians should have the same rights, human rights, as Israelis?
Let me put it in perspective.
It's a yes or no.
I will.
No, you can't equivocate. You either believe that or you don't. The reason I'm asking you, it's so central.
Let me start with your. Let me answer your question first.
It's so central.
Let me answer your question first. Yes.
Okay, good.
The answer is yes.
Good.
But let me articulate that there was a war fought, and Israel won the war, so they don't have to do anything for anybody.
Wait, what war are you talking about?
1948. Was that not a war that was fought? They got attacked on all sides.
There's been many wars since then.
After they rejected the two-state solution, a war was fought, they won. Every war that has been fought, Israel has won. They've been victorious. They don't owe Palestinians anything, but they're peaceful people.
Which war gave them the right?
They don't owe them. They don't owe Palestinians anything.
Right. Yeah. No, actually, I mean, they only owe them what we all owe each other, I suppose. But what war
you can make that argument, but that's not a real argument.
Yeah, it is. What war did Israel win that gave them the right to occupy the Palestinians in perpetuity for all of history?
Let's bring into it. Well, first of all, I don't know why you think it's an occupation. Jews have lived in Israel since the beginning of time, never ceasing to exist in Israel. They were the majority, became the minority.
Yes, those two things are not related at all.
Let me finish. Let me finish. What I'm saying is that you're acting as if Jews don't have
it's a military occupation.
What I'm saying is that Jews have entitlement to the land. Palestinians don't have exclusive entitlement. So when a war is fought, the Jews can make the decision of what they do with Palestinians or not. Just like in America, we can say what we want to do with the Native Americans.
So let me ask you. Let me finish my point,
and I'll answer your question.
Sure.
Just real quick, it'll be a couple seconds. But because we have humanity and dignity, we allow for Native Americans in America to have reservations, and we support them in all of the above. Because Israel and Jews have dignity, they allow them to have swaths of the West Bank, and they allow them to have Gaza, where they elected their own government system. Now, do Israel have control? I see why. Can't you see? If they had absolutely no control, they had no idea what was coming in through the southern border, through the sea, how much more of a terrorist attack would we see in Israel? It would be even more massive. So I understand that. But when they were offered a two-state solution, why did they reject it?
All right, Dave.
Again, I don't know what period of time you're talking about, what war you're talking about, but so here's a major difference. You might notice this, Piers, between Native Americans, say in the United States of America. You know, they have citizenship and voting rights, and so at a certain point, if you're going to say okay, yes, that's right. Now, how about the Palestinians living under Israeli control in the West Bank? They do not have citizenship or voting rights, and so if
they don't have citizenship in Israel.
Right,
they
and
do.
Israel's the government that's
elections.
controlling.
They have elections, don't
listen,
they?
Brennan, think about what you're advocating for. That's not you're not addressing the point here. They don't have citizenship in that. You just said that, hey, you understand why Israel is going to control these areas because in your estimation, there'd be more violence if they didn't control these areas. Now, I disagree with that estimation, but whatever. Okay, but then you're saying Israel has control, and these people don't have citizenship or voting rights in Israel. If Israel is controlling Gaza and the West Bank, and they've got millions of people there who don't have citizenship or voting rights, don't have any say in that government, what would you call that? By the way, we could I could make the argument that there'd be less crime if.
Okay, so I mean, just totally wild stuff there. Again, he argues, Tatum, yeah, it's not indiscriminate. Only 80-something% of the buildings have been destroyed, so it's not indiscriminate. Okay, that's just insane. And again, he argues the Palestinians don't want a state. He says the Palestinians are the ones who've rejected every single peace proposal. Brother, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu's literal career, the longest serving prime minister in the history of the state of Israel, has argued his entire political platform is the Palestinians won't get a state. If you ask Netanyahu now, his argument is the Palestinians are not going to get a state. So again, the idea that it is the Palestinians who don't want to have a two-state solution and the Israelis have no sort of accountability whatsoever is utterly ridiculous. And again, he uses the talking point again. Oh, the Palestinians were given a state in 2005 and they elected terrorism. The idea that Palestinians had a state in 2005 is utterly ridiculous. Number one, the Palestinians were, Hamas in particular, was supported by Israel. Netanyahu funneled money to Hamas through Qatar. That is an absolute fact. You can look it up. It's 100% accurate that Netanyahu himself did do that in order to try and split the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, so the Palestinians would not be able to eventually get a state because they'd be divide and conquer. That was the idea, which of course failed spectacularly on October 7th, as we saw. And again, the idea that it was a state in 2005 when there was a literal blockade of everything going in and out of the Gaza Strip, the idea that it was, they had their own state, utterly preposterous. And again, then Piers even asked a question, so Palestinians, should they have the same rights as Israelis? And eventually he says yes. But again, in the beginning, he can't even just acknowledge, yes, of course. But no, he says, but he tries to go on a side tangent, but Piers doesn't let him get away with it. Utterly ridiculous. And again, he says the Israelis obviously won the war. Totally ridiculous talking points. He has no idea what he's talking about. The Israelis won the war, so they can do anything they want. There's been several wars. He's talking about 1948. He's not even aware of the history of the 67 war, the Six-Day War. He has no idea. He just cites this one war that the Israelis won everything so they can treat the Palestinians any way they want. It's genuinely bizarre, the talking points. And I don't know if he genuinely believes this or what his motivations are, but it seems like he doesn't even have an idea of the history of the entire conflict. He's basically saying because the Israelis won the war, quote unquote, they can do whatever they want to the Palestinians. Makes no sense. It's totally ridiculous. And I'd love to know what this guy's solution is for this conflict. It makes no sense to me. Clearly, he doesn't want to give the Palestinians a state. That's for sure. Utterly ridiculous. I thought it was honestly humiliation for this guy. I mean, I don't know how you watch those clips and come away thinking, yeah, he's spot on in everything he says. Ridiculous. So that's what I got for you guys today. Again, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm and it helps the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below. We're super close to 1,000 subscribers, so let's try and get there soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.